All right. Hello, Anna. Thank you for joining again.
Welcome.
How's your day going?
It's going pretty well. It's the end of my day, but I'm feeling relaxed.
Good. That's
Yeah,
awesome. It's the end of my day as well, so we're closing out strong.
yeah. Jacie is just upstairs, however, distance between us.
Yeah, social distancing. We're
Yeah,
zooming from the same building.
yeah.
So today we wanted to talk a little bit about how engaging in therapy yourself is going to affect the people around you. So your family, your friends, your colleagues, your partners, your kids, all that good stuff. What are your thoughts on this, Anna?
I think I've heard a few things from people lately. One is from some men, and this is not to generalize, but this is just a demographic that I see in therapy. People who identify as men in like the 50 to 70 range, sharing openly for the first time about their feelings, about things that they've been struggling with for years, but had felt like they needed to keep in because of obviously societal norms and gender and all that. And after sharing in therapy and having an experience where they felt heard and safe, they have shared more with their partners and with their children and had conversations that they never thought were possible. It really opened up relationships and they felt like, they were going to live without regretting holding all this stuff in. So I think that's been lately what I've been hearing. And then also people teaching friends and family members techniques that we've been doing in therapy. And then I get to hear about how they found it really useful. And yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. I got like full body goosebumps when you were talking about those men who are finally like able to open up and be
Yeah.
vulnerable with their families. That just makes me so happy.
I know, me too.
I've been working a lot lately with moms of younger kids. And one of the pieces of feedback that I get a lot is how these moms are able to show up for their kids from a much more loving space rather than a space of frustration. And people feel guilty saying it, but a lot of people have resentment towards their kids because of that lack of freedom that gets brought up, right? And that's okay. But as they work through those experiences in therapy, the connection that they're creating with their children is so much more vulnerable and real. And when these mothers start sharing with, I say young kids, between, like 10-ish, right? And they start to share openly with their kids about their own emotions and their own experiences, their children are coming forward with really genuine and troubling emotions that they had felt the need to hide before. And so these connections are getting so much stronger between parents and children. And that's something I've seen a lot of lately. And long term, those kids are growing up with this capacity to express themselves because of the work that their parents are doing.
That's lovely.
Yeah, I know we're both getting a little choked up here.
We need to talk more about like our good therapy moments, I think.
I think so. Yeah. And speaking of good therapy moments versus hard therapy moments, we were chatting a little bit before we hopped on about boundary setting and how that affects the people around you. It can be a really challenging part of therapy where you start to recognize certain dynamics in relationships aren't working for you anymore and you want to change those. It can be really hard on the people around you. But the way that I tend to look at that and the approach that I like to take with clients is every time you set a boundary and someone feels upset about that boundary, you're giving them an opportunity to look at where they need to be healed. And it's up to them if they're going to engage with that or not. But by caring for yourself, you're showing everyone around you that they have the ability to care for themselves as well.
Yeah, it's an example.
Yeah.
Really. I think that is true that relationships do change, especially someone is engaged in like the more intensive kind of trauma focused therapy. And a lot of times it is for the better, like we've been talking about. But then, yeah, sometimes it also does mean the end of relationships or relationships, yeah, change, boundaries are improved.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
But over time, that just creates an overall more vulnerable and authentic connection with everyone in your
Yeah,
life.
more reciprocal. People stop feeling the resentment when the boundary is set. And I think that that's part of what people find too is that prior to the boundary, maybe they were showing up for people all the time, but that actually made them kind of angry. So yeah, relationships improve with it.
Yeah. So I think that it's really important just to note that things can improve. It can improve globally with your relationships with those connections, and giving the people around you permission to share as you start to share. Because then they're like, oh, if you're willing to be this real with me, I can be this real with you back. And then at the same time, there's going to be times where you have to be real that it's hard. But afterwards, it gives you a lot more freedom and flexibility in that relationship to communicate differently.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would say one more thing that sometimes changes in your relationships when you start going to therapy is that other people start going to therapy too, because
Mm-hmm.
they see how it's influenced you, and then they're interested in it. And I think that happens a lot with EMDR, like what we do here, that people hear about it and see how it's worked for their family members, and then they want
Yeah.
other
I
influence.
notice it a lot with friend dyads.
Yeah,
A friend is going and then they're talking about all the stuff they're learning and the ways that they're growing and how much more enjoyment they're getting out of their day-to-day activities, and their friends are like, whoa, where are you getting this? I want some.
right.
Yeah, so I get a lot of friend referrals. It seems to be a thing.
Definitely.
So yeah, globally it's just taking care of yourself is going to positively impact everyone around you, really. Yeah. And it helps break down whatever stigmas there are that are left.
Yeah, absolutely. And the less shame people have, the more they're willing to talk about what they're going through. And I think that is something that therapy really helps with,
Hmm.
breaking down of shame.
Yeah, definitely. And breaking down shame for one person, it's like a domino effect. Yeah.
Yeah, can impact generations.
Hmm. Well, I think that's a great place to leave off. Going to therapy affects generations.
We think very highly of ourselves,
We
folks.
must think very highly of our clients who are doing all the hard work.
Yes.
Yeah.
I often tell people that, when I'm thanked, like that you have done everything,
Yeah.
in the
And
effort.
it's
We're,
true.
we're yeah,
The people who show up in the office, willing to make those changes and to make those shifts, like they're the ones doing the hard work.
yeah, and we're just really fortunate.
Absolutely. My favorite part of therapy is witnessing people come into their own power and like show up week after week being like, I did this thing I never thought I could do before. And that just makes my heart explode. It's incredible.
Yeah. Okay, another good
Well,
spot. Ending number 2. Okay, I'll see you soon, Jacie, and the rest of you, I'll see you sometime.
awesome. Thanks so much. See ya.